You are listening to Woodland Walks, a podcast for the Woodland Trust, presented by Adam Shaw. We protect and plant trees for people to enjoy, to fight climate change and to help wildlife thrive.
Well, today I'm in the Cairngorms in Scotland. In Scottish Gaelic, the area is called, I'm going to give this a go, Ammonda Ruad. Apologies for my pronunciation there. But we are in the midst of a mountain range in the Highlands of Scotland, obviously. Generally, we're about 1,000 metres high here, but the higher peaks, I'm told, get to about 1,300 metres odd, which is going on for, 4,500 foot or so. This is a very dramatic landscape. We have rocky outcrops, boulders, steep cliffs. It's home to bird species such as the dotterel, the snow bunting, the curlew and red grouse, as well as mammals such as mountain hare. But the reason, of course, we are here this Christmas is because it is also home to Britain's only herd, I think, of reindeer. Now, the reindeer herder is Tilly. She is the expert here, and I am braving the snow and icy winds to be introduced to her and the herd. And from there, after that, we're going to take a drive to what I'm told is an amazing wooded landscape of Caledonian pine to talk all things pine and, of course, all things Christmas trees. But first of all, let's meet Tilly, who looks after the reindeer. Okay. We are recording.
That's good. Okay, well, I better not say anything naughty then.
It's fine, I'll cut out any naughtiness. It's fine. Right. Okay.
This is a bit of a rustly bag. It's a more rustly than normal, but never mind.
What do the reindeer actually eat?
Well, so we're now up in their natural habitat here, and we're looking across a nice heathery hillside with sedges as well. You can just see them poking through the snow.
Right.
And they'll pick away at the old heather of the year and the sedges. But we manage the herd and we like to feed them. So what I've got in my bag is some food for them.
Right, and what's in your Santa sack of food?
Oh, that's a secret.
Oh, you can't tell me? Oh,
No,
gosh.
I can tell you. So it's a cereal mix.
Right.
And there is something similar to what you would feed a sheep.
Right.
Bit of barley, bit of sheep mix.
So not minced pies and carrots, that's only reserved for Christmas Eve.
I actually
that's probably
think
not very good for them, I would have thought.
I hate to say this, but reindeer don't actually eat carrots.
Oh right, okay. That's good to know.
But if ever children bring carrots for them, I never turn them away.
Right.
Because we're very good at making carrot soup and carrot cake.
That's for Santa's helpers, get the carrots. Yeah.
And I'm absolutely certain that Santa eats all the mince pies.
Yes, I'm sure that's
so
true.
all good. So anyway, come on through here. We're going now into a 1,000-acre enclosure. It just hooks on there. That's perfect. And it goes right across. We could actually, once we get close to these visitors, are coming off from a hill visit this morning. So
nice.
You'll be pleased to hear that I am the boss. I'm Mrs. Bossman, and I've been with the reindeer for 43 years. Wow. No, their lifespan is sort of 12 to 15 years. So I've gone through many generations. I've known many lovely reindeer, and it's always a favourite. And you would have seen some real characters there today. And you couldn't see them in better conditions. No. Anyway, get yourselves down and warm yourselves up. Oh, you've done very well to bring a little one like that today.
You did pretty well.
You've done extremely well. Of course they have, yes. No, she's got a very red nose, a bit like Rudolph. Thing is, there's just that wind, and it's the wind that drops the temperature, that chill factor.
So, where are we going, Tilly?
So we're heading out towards what we call Silver Mount, Air God Meal. They're not in here all year, different times of year. Sometimes they're all free ranging, some of them are free ranging, some of them are in here.
And when you talk about free range, literally they can go anywhere.
Yes, they can.
But they come back because
yes,
they know where the food is?
They know where the food is, they sort of know where the home is. But they do wander out onto the higher ground as well,
Right.
and more in the summertime.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that, I mean, Scotland has different rules. There's a right to roam sort of rule here. Does that apply to reindeer? Is that the issue?
That is a moot point.
Oh, is it really? We've hardly started and I've got into trouble.
We lease 6,000 acres.
Right.
So we lease everything out to the skyline.
So that's an extraordinary range for them.
It is an extraordinary range, but they know no bounds. I have to say, reindeer sometimes do just pop over
and that causes
the boundary.
problems with the neighbours.
Well, some like it, some aren't so keen,
right.
and we herd them as well, so we can herd them home.
Right.
And we herd them by calling them.
All right, I was going to say, do you have a skidoo or?
No, absolutely no vehicular access on the hill. It's all by Shanks's pony.
Really? So you walk?
Everywhere.
And then you just ring a bell to herd them, or what do you do?
Low, come and no, and they come to us.
Right. And so what was the call again?
Low, come no.
Come now, is that the
Come
way?
on now.
Come on
Yes,
now. Okay,
yeah.
very good. Okay. I now
But
know.
hopefully they won't all come rushing
No,
from over
I was
there.
going to say yes. We've now called out the reindeer.
We've just joined a cow and calf here who have just come down to the gate, and you can see just for yourself they're completely benign.
Yes.
They're so docile and quiet. There's no sort of kicking or pushing or anything. They're very, very gentle
And
creatures.
is that because they've been acclimatised because there's tourists come, or would that be a natural behaviour?
It is their natural behaviour, bearing in mind that reindeer have been domesticated for thousands of years.
Right.
We're not looking at a wild animal here that's got tame. We're looking at a domesticated animal that is probably more used to people than some of the reindeer up in the Arctic.
Right.
So so we have domestication embedded in their genetics.
So what we're saying is genetically,
Yeah.
they're actually more docile. It's
Oh,
not
totally.
because this particular
No.
reindeer is
Not
used
at all.
to us.
No, not at all.
But
Not at all.
originally, then, if one goes back far enough, they were wilder.
Yes, so it's a really interesting process of domestication of reindeer, which happened in the old world, so Russia, Scandinavia, outer Mongolia, and that is reindeer, and many reindeer in these Arctic areas are domesticated. They're not wild.
And that started happening, do we have an idea?
Probably
when?
about 10,000 years ago.
Right.
But if you go to the New World, to Alaska and North Canada, exactly the same animal is called a caribou.
Right.
Caribou were never domesticated. The indigenous people of these areas never embraced the herding and enclosing of reindeer,
Right.
which was caribou, whereas in the old world it became very, very important to the people's survival.
And then the caribou, do they have a different character to reindeer?
Yes, they're wilder.
They are wild.
Yes, and they're a little bit difficult to show today. A little bit, you see quite strong colour variation in reindeer,
Right.
which you don't see in caribou. And colour variation is man's influence on selecting for colour. So you'd get very light coloured ones, you get white ones in reindeer, you get very dark ones, but in caribou they're all the same browny,
Right.
grey colour. You know, they felt that the white reindeer were important in the herd for whatever reasons, shamanic reasons or whatever. Interestingly, the Sami, and I'm not sure if there could be a white one up in the herd here at the moment, you describe them as lazy reindeer, the white ones.
Why?
Well, I didn't know why until I worked out why. White reindeer are often deaf. So they sleep. They don't get up when everybody else gets up and moves, and this white reindeer doesn't realise that the herd has left them.
Oh my God.
So they're not all deaf, but certain white ones are.
Very important question. Obvious, but I didn't ask it to begin with because I'm a fool. Why are reindeer connected to Christmas?
Well, that's a really good question, because it actually, they think it stems from a poet called Clement C. Moore, who wrote a poem in America. He had Scandinavian Germanic connections called The Night Before Christmas, where Donner, Blitzen, Cupid, Comet fly through the air with Saint Nick in the sleigh, the little Santa. But so that really set the scene of 8 reindeer in the sleigh, and that was based on the Norwegian god Odin, who had 8 legs and strode through the sky with these eight legs and 8 reindeer. Then we have Rudolph, who turns up, but he doesn't turn up until the time of Prohibition in America.
So Rudolph isn't in the original poem?
Absolutely not. Rudolph is an imposter.
Okay.
It was a marketing exercise for a department store during alcohol prohibition, and it was Rudolph with his red nose.
Because he drank too much.
The red nose is because of alcohol.
So was it in favour of alcohol, or was it going, look what terrible thing happens to you?
I'm not terribly sure.
Okay.
But anyway, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer
Right.
was the song. And so that adds to it. And then along comes Coca-Cola, who used a red and white Santa to promote Coca-Cola at Christmas time.
Right.
So the red and white Santa is Coca-Cola.
Right, and the red-nosed reindeer
Comes
is
from alcohol
from alcohol, and reindeer comes from an actual American poem of which Rudolph wasn't part of anyway.
Exactly.
Well, that's all simple to understand.
Perfect.
Thank you. Well, we're moving up to some of the more exposed slopes. Tilly's gone ahead. I'm just going to catch up back with her and to ask how she started as one of the UK's first reindeer herders. Well, and certainly one of our few reindeer experts.
I came up to volunteer, and I met the keeper who was looking after the reindeer for Dr. Lindgren, who was the lady who brought them in with her husband, Mr. Utsi. And he was quite good looking.
Is this a revelation you wish to make to
And the reindeer were endearing, and the mountains were superb, and so I married the keeper.
Oh, you did marry him. I thought you were telling me about another man. It's your husband. That's fine.
So I married Alan. We married in 1983, and I've been here ever since.
Great.
And yeah.
And so the purpose of having the reindeer here certainly originally was what?
Good question. Mr. Utsi came here and was very taken by the landscape and the environment, the habitat, because it was so similar to his own home country of North Sweden.
Right.
And he begged the question, where are the reindeer?
Right.
Why are there not reindeer here? And it was on that notion that he and his wife, Dr. Lindgren, devoted the latter half of their lives to bringing reindeer back to Scotland.
So that's interesting. So it raises the difference of ecological or sort of natural question, or whether these are indigenous animals.
Yes, so an interesting, idea. Certainly the habitat's available for them, and they live in their natural environment. But when they became extinct, not extinct, but when they weren't in Scotland, some people say as recently as 600 years ago, and some people say as long as 2,000 years ago. If it's 2,000 years ago, they're described as a past native.
So, okay, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
But is there any debate around whether they were originally...
They were definitely here. They were
definitely
here.
So they aren't a native, they're not sort of imported, they may have died out and been
absolutely.
Brought back in.
Yeah, they were reintroduced.
Right.
But what that time span is, some people say sooner than later. And Mr. Utsi certainly identified this as a very suitable spot for them.
And any idea why they might have died out? Do we know?
Probably a bit of climate change, and also probably hunting. A very easy animal to hunt.
Right. And the other thing I learned...
Are you okay with this chitter-chatter going on?
Yeah, it's all good. And a bit of... Do you call it mooing? What's
oh no, the reindeer aren't making any noise. They're clicking.
Someone was mooing.
I think it was the people. That's why I said, are you fine with that?
Oh, I thought it was the reindeer making that noise.
No, not at all. They're very silent.
Well, that's good for people to know, because they'd have left this podcast.
They would have.
Reindeer
exactly. No, they are really silent animals.
A very large reindeer coming down the pathway. I'll get out.
Oh, that's okay. That's a Kubra. He'll do nothing to you at all. Okay. He's an absolute genuine reindeer.
Okay.
He's lovely.
So,
but listen to the clicking as they walk. You can't hear it because of your headphones.
Yeah, later on I will. I'll put a microphone on a reindeer. That'll be the first. One other thing, I always imagined when you saw a set of antlers on a sort of grand Scottish mansion, I thought, oh well, they've killed that reindeer, and actually that's not true, is it? They fall off.
They do. You're absolutely right.
I didn't know that.
It depends how you see the antlers. If the antlers are still on a skull, that animal has been killed, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's animals need to be controlled. But But you're also right, antlers are lost every year and regrown again. So they cast their antlers and they regrow their antlers. So in a reindeer's life, if a reindeer's 10 years old, he will have just grown his 11th set of antlers.
Right. And the purpose of antlers is fighting? Is it like
mainly for fighting.
I'm a big girl or I'm a big boy, whatever.
Yeah. So for the big breeding males, it's for claiming harems of females, so in the breeding season. And those big breeding bulls will actually lose their antlers around about now. Their antlers will fall off and then they won't regrow their antlers until next spring.
Right.
The females, little females like this, keep those bony antlers all winter and they use them for competing for food. Right. So they can jab another reindeer and push it off and they can get into the food as a result. So
the other thing I can notice about some of not the reindeer in front of us, but I think one of the one walking away, although it looks very bony,
yes,
this reindeer, the other one has sort of felt on it and what looks like blood.
Yes.
So what's going on there?
So they are the velvet antlers on the Christmas reindeer that have finished growing, but they don't lose the velvet properly, and they're not. There is still potentially blood in the bone, as it were.
So there's a sort of capillary underneath the felt.
Yes, exactly, because the antlers are a really interesting appendage because it grows from the tip. It doesn't grow from the base. So the blood supply has to go all the way to the tip to grow. And the velvet skin carries that blood supply.
I see. So now that the reindeer in front of us has no velvet on
exactly,
them,
and no blood supply. Exactly. And the only way she can grow, get more antler or bigger antlers is to lose the whole thing and grow it again next year.
Yeah. So, we'll just wait for our other reindeer visitors to just pass. So, any other serious facts we should know to inform ourselves about reindeer?
Lots of serious facts. So they're the only deer species where the males and the females grow antlers. Every other deer species, it's only the males that grow the antlers. They are the only deer species that's been domesticated by man. All the other species of deer, and we're talking about 40 different species, are all truly wild animals. They can survive in the coldest parts of the world. So in the middle of Siberia, the temperature can go down to -72. And reindeer are still living there quite happily.
And it's cold today, but it's probably -2 or something.
Exactly, yeah. Man cannot live in the Arctic without an animal to live by, and it's reindeer that he lives by. Right. Man would never have gone into these areas. Obviously now they're all digging up, getting the oil and the gas and everything, but indigenous man can only survive in these areas if he has reindeer as his farm animal of the north. And so they're really important to the indigenous people of the north.
And in that sort of role, then you can clearly eat reindeer. We know it's
absolutely.
Venison. What else does it provide?
So it provides with meat. There are indigenous people that milk them in the season. Right. They have these tremendous coats that are used for covering tents and for people's, clothing. Yeah. And the antlers, not now, but the antlers would have been used as tools in the past.
Right. Have you ever had reindeer milk?
I have tried, yes. We have milked the odd reindeer.
You have?
For one reason or another. Okay. It's very rich.
It's rich.
Very rich.
Is that good?
That's good. That's good.
Quite fatty, so is it drinkable? Or
totally drinkable, totally nice.
Right, I've had I think yak's milk, or a drink made from yak's milk, which was disgusting, well, I found it in Mongolia, but I really found it difficult.
It wasn't yours.
It wasn't my
thing. But it wasn't the fermented one, was it? Because in
sure
Mongolia they're into fermented mare's milk.
That might be what I had.
And that is revolting.
Yes, okay, that's maybe what I had.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, right, this is not for me. But how unusual is reindeer milk then?
It's got a very high fat content. They produce very little milk, because if you had a great big swinging udder in freezing conditions, you'd have ice cream. Yes. You wouldn't have milk. Are you heading down, guys? Yes. Yeah. Right.
The other thing I noticed we haven't talked about is their hooves.
Yes.
Quite large, and they look, just from a distance, quite mobile.
Very flexible animals, and their hooves are very big, of course, for snow. For walking on the snow. You
want to spread the weight.
Spread the weight, but also great shovels for digging. So they dig, if you're in 2 feet, 3 feet of snow in North Sweden, you've got to get to the food underneath, and to get to it they need to dig. So they're great diggers.
And your life now here, it's quite a change from where you grew up, I presume.
Certainly is. A very rural life I had then. I have an equally country-wise life now. I will go to my grave with reindeer.
Right.
They are my complete and utter passion. They are the most wonderful animals to be amongst. They put a smile on your face. They live in a beautiful area, and they're just lovely animals, and they give me a lot of pleasure. Yeah.
Fantastic. And if people are in the Cairngorms and want to have their own trip to see the reindeer, they call the what?
They call the Cairngorm Reindeer Centre.
Very good.
And you can do it on the website. You can ring us up, and they need to dress up. I'm sure you appreciate that.
Yes.
Are your feet cold yet?
No. I stopped off and bought extra thermals on my way.
Very good, very good.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real treat. Thank you very
Brilliant.
much.
Oh, well, thank you for coming.
Great. Well, I'm afraid I'm having to leave the reindeer behind because we're now heading to a little lower ground to see what I'm told is an amazing forest of Caledonian pine, and to learn a bit more about the trees and their relative, the other pine, which we all know as the Christmas tree. And we're off to meet the guy who looks after the Glencharnoch Woods in Carbridge, near the River Spey and Dulnane. Now, despite it, it's quite a small forest, I think, but despite that, it's quite well known for being really important, really big on biodiversity, and it's home to a number of species, including, but not just them, but including the red squirrel and the crested tit.
My name's Ross Watson. I'm the site manager for North Scotland for the Woodland Trust.
Brilliant. Ross, we have come on an extraordinary day. It has snowed. It looks picturesque, chocolate box, shortbread box maybe, type stuff, so fantastic. So just tell me where we are.
Well, we're in Glencharnoch Wood. It's a wood that Woodland Trust owns, and it's part of a series of little woodlands on the back of Carbridge, between Carbridge and the railway. Woodland Trust has had it for a number of years. It's a little site, only 36 hectares. But it's a pinewood site, and a really important pinewood site at that, in that it's a small part of a much bigger Caledonian forest.
Okay, well, I want to talk to you about pinewood, because I think it sort of just gets dismissed. Oh, well, there's pinewood, nothing, not important, not interesting, apart from Christmas perhaps, when suddenly it becomes really important. But I want to unpack all of that with you. But just explain to me, we're going to go on a little walk. Hopefully you know where you're going.
Absolutely.
Good, all right. So just explain a bit about where we're going. Give me a sense of the pattern of where we're going.
Well, we're going to take a circular walk around the woodlands. The woodland here it's all about community. Everything we do here is around that, really. So we're going to walk through a piece of land that's owned by the local authority, and then go through our own land, and then onto privately owned land, and then come back through our own land. And it really shows the connectivity of all these different habitats, all the different landowners, but really the path network is there for the community that's here, and they are involved with that as well.
So, pinewood.
Yeah.
It sort of gets bunched all together, and especially the Scots pine, I hear a lot about. Mm-hmm. But there are big differences and varieties, are there? And tell me a bit about them. Yeah,
and the Scots pine we're walking through are a really special species. It's the only native conifer in the UK,
right?
And that's why they're so special here. Really, these Scots pine provide their own habitat, all of their own. They're incredibly threatened as a habitat in Scotland. We've got just a number of Caledonian pinewood inventory sites. We've got ancient woodlands, we've got designated sites.
And sorry, just to stop you, Caledonian pine and Scots pine, interchangeable words?
Yeah, good point. Yes, the Great Wood of Caledon was the reference of the name of the forest that was here, the original boreal forest that gradually reduced in size, partly through climate change as the country became cooler and wetter, but also through human intervention, through felling, fires, grazing, all that kind of thing. So now we tend to talk about Scots pine and Cali pine can be fairly interchangeable, but the Cali pine tends to be the the bigger, grander kind of granny pines, these really lovely old things you see in some of the landscape.
But that's sort of just the way people use the word.
Yeah.
Technically, they're the same thing,
Very much
but
so.
we refer to the Caledonian pine as the big, grand ones.
Absolutely.
And it comes from, so I just want to make sure I understood what you said. The word Caledonian pine then comes from a forest called Caledonia?
Yeah, the Great Wood of Caledon.
Caledon.
Yep.
Isn't that a brilliant name?
Yeah,
It's so mystical, and
Absolutely.
it sort of talks of Tolkien and other worlds. Wow. Okay, so we have the great Scots pine, the Caledonian pine. If people have a general thing in their mind about oak pine trees,
Yeah.
what is special about Caledonian pine? How that distinguishes from pines in other parts of the world, for instance?
Well, and Scots pine, and as we're walking through this woodland just now, as you look up the trunks of the trees, as you look up, the bark tends to go from a kind of grey brown to a real kind of russety red, like a red squirrel colour.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the red squirrel camouflage comes from that rusty colour.
Oh, really?
So they're skittering around these treetops, and they can be jumping around, and they're nice and camouflaged because of that colour. So it's that redness that you really see. But what we can see in here is a lot of these trees are very even aged. It's been quite heavily thinned in the past. But then you come across a tree like this that's got a very deep crown. So you see there's live branches more than halfway down that tree, whereas a lot of these other
I was
trees
going to say,
are around.
it's weird that they've got no foliage until very high.
Yeah. So this tree here, and foresters may call this a wolf tree, a tree that is occupied a space and it's just sat there and doesn't allow anything around it.
It's called a wolf tree.
A wolf tree. Some
Gosh.
people would refer to it as a wolf tree. But what we'd refer to that is a deep crown tree, not very imaginatively named, but a deep crown tree is really important here because of capercaillie. Now capercaillie, you imagine a capercaillie is a big bird, it's a turkey-sized bird, so it'd be almost kind of waist height, a male capercaillie. And in the winter, it will walk out across these branches and it will nibble away at some of the needles, and it will sit there and it will rely on that during deep snow for shelter, security, food. So without these deep crown trees, there isn't anywhere for them to go. So if you imagine a plantation of very dense pine that are much denser than this, and they don't have the chance for any deep crown trees, then the opportunity for capercaillie here is much reduced.
Right. So look, the elephant in the room, like, well, it's Christmas around the corner, people have Christmas trees. That's the sort of most people know anything about pine, it's because they have it in their house at Christmas. That's not a Scots pine?
No, and your traditional Christmas tree is a Nordman fir.
Yes.
So a fir tree tends to hold on to its needles a little longer than a pine tree, and if you look after the pine, it will retain its needles, but quite often the pine trees will grow slightly too quickly, so it'll be a bit bare as a Christmas tree.
Right.
Whereas a fir tree is kind of hairy enough to be a good Christmas tree.
Right.
So,
and do we have them planted in the UK as well? I mean, just for commercial cropping?
yeah, as a Christmas tree crop. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay. So the other thing, I mean, look, we're in a really lovely forest at the moment. We're the only ones here. But Scotland, the iconic pictures of Scotland are bare mountains, aren't they? They're not wooded. And yet I've always read that that's not how it used to be. It used to be a wooded part of the country.
Well, partly, yeah.
Why did it lose so much of its woodland?
Well, and it's looking back to centuries ago, as the climate became cooler and wetter, the tree line reduced in height. But more recently, in the 1800s and the Cultural Revolution, during created huge periods of felling where they needed this timber for industrialisation.
Right.
Trees from the woodlands near here were cut down. They were floated down to the River Spey and then out to Spey Bay in the Murray coast. They were used for underground water piping for ships' masts.
Right.
Because these trees are, as you can feel today, it's a cold place to be.
Yeah.
They've grown very slowly. So because they're nice and straight, as we can see, they are. The rings are very close together, so they're very sturdy.
Right.
They were an ideal timber source. But then we start to look at deer numbers increasing and sheep numbers increasing. the more mouths on the hill
Yeah.
meant that once you cut these trees down, it was much harder for the trees to come away again. And really that's the landscape we're in now, really. And when we're talking about those very large, deep-crowned trees on open hillsides, these kind of granny pines that are so picturesque. And really a lot of these trees, there was no timber value in them because they were already so crooked.
Right.
And they were left, and this is almost a remnant that's showcasing the old forest that once was standing there.
A lot of times, site managers, they're trying to keep things steady in a way, I suppose. Just trying to maintain what's going, keep that going. That's hard enough. Is that the job here, or do you have bigger plans? Are there, times are changing?
Well, this is one of 8 woodlands that I look after across the north of Scotland. Whenever we're doing anything, no matter what the scale of it, it's not just how do we keep the site going and as kind of steady, and it's about how do we, when we are doing work, how do we add value to that to make it better for the people that are living here, and how do we use that to continue to showcase these sites as the shop window for the Woodland Trust.
And is the idea here to try and remove the non-Scots pine, so you'd have a pure Scots pine forest?
Well, and Woodland Trust works on a threat basis, really. So any tree is better than no tree.
Right.
But if you have got a lot of spruce regeneration that is threatening this ancient woodland, then we need to begin to remove that. And that's been the case
and
here.
Is it? Sorry, I pause it because there's a lovely spaniel who wants me to throw a stick, but I won't throw. Hello. I won't throw the stick. Very cool dog. There we are.
I hear you.
Sorry, we were saying yes. So any tree is better than no tree, but are the other trees a threat then, or not?
Well, the Norway spruce here has been seeding regeneration into the bog woodland areas, and over the last few years we've cleared a lot of that, and in some of these nice young spruce we've been able to provide to the community for Christmas trees, which has been really handy. But all of that is gone now, and we're left with this core of mature Norway spruce that a number of them have started to snap, so are becoming a safety issue for members of the public using the footpath next to it. But also there's an opportunity there where before that timber dies, we can extract it and it can be useful for the community.
Right. And you'd replace it with Scots pine?
No, we're going to replace it with predominantly with hazel and aspen.
Right.
Because one of the slight concerns in having a single species stand, unlike we have here, where it's all Scots pine, is that there's only one species for the likes of red squirrels or the crossbills, and on a day like today we might hear crossbills coming over. There's only one species here for them. Whereas if we're planting hazel, which is an underrepresented species here, that provides a different food for red squirrels in a different part of the woodland. And aspen is one of the most biodiverse species that we would have in this part of the world. There are very, very few aspen in the
When you
woodland
say
here,
it's the most biodiverse species, you mean it attracts biodiversity?
Absolutely, yes. In terms of the lower plant assemblage that's on there specifically, and insects. And aspen, the Latin name Populus tremula, and the tremula coming from the oval shape on the leaf, just in the slightest breeze, that it's adapted that to try and shake off the insect burden, because the leaves are so palatable for insects.
Wow.
So they're
the shape of the leaf,
the shape of the stalk of the leaf is oval.
Right.
So
and that helps shift any insects.
Yeah.
And well, it's interesting because aspen, I just, in my ignorance, associate with aspen in America and don't think it's a native, but it's a native UK tree.
It is, yeah, and it will be one of the first colonisers after the Ice Age. That an aspen will have the seed will have blown down as the ice is receding, but some of the aspen that are here now will be some of the oldest trees that exist in the UK. And aspen generally now grows rhizomously, so you'll see the roots through the forest, and all of the suckers will pop out. And the aspen that we can see in the woodland today, they could have been here for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, And they've just, as the clone has marched through the landscape and it's moved and colonised different areas, they're fascinating trees. So when you look at some of the images in North America, you might see entire hillsides of aspen, and that could all be the same tree essentially. So they're amazing organisms.
That's amazing. So it's sort of cloning, really.
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
way. That's amazing. And also, I can see right on the Scots spine behind you, beautiful lichen there, which is just like, and it's a real sign of the air quality here, isn't
Absolutely.
it? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't grow, it's just often further south. We do see lichen, obviously, but often I see a bit.
Sure.
This is everywhere. It's a real sign. This is good land.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good land, good air.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to take another shot of our colleague down below. She's wearing a lovely red hat, almost looks like Santa. And then we'll move on. Which way?
To the right.
So we're going up hill a bit. You might just hear the snow crunching under my boots. Which way? Good. So this is amazing. A wolf peeking out from the woods, which adds to the fairy tale quality of all of this forest walk. This is not a real wolf. This is carved in wood. It looks really beautiful, and it's covered in snow at the moment, which maybe is why I didn't spot it at first. So what's the story here?
Well, the story here is that Carbridge hosts the Scottish Chainsaw Carving Competition every year at the end of August. And there are chainsaw carvers come from all over the world to compete here, to do some incredibly elaborate carvings of, they do benches and 3-4 metre statues, and also it's absolutely incredible.
This is very delicate. I'm surprised this would be done with a chainsaw.
Yeah, and it's very specialist skill, as you can see, and the people have to be very artistic. They have to be very good with the power saw, but also the bar of the power saw is a specialist carving tool.
Right.
But then they also can use all sorts of other implements to try and refine the artwork itself. And this is just one part of a much larger chainsaw carving trail that's in Carbridge that really commemorates this annual event.
Amazing. Well, we'll leave the wolf.
Yeah.
It's got even like a little dark nose. Just give the dark nose
Amazing.
a quick rub.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, little dog sticking its head up. A real dog this time. Oh, yes, just to prove it.
Hiya. Hiya.
Hello. We've just seen some reindeer, depending which order that goes in. Are reindeer, obviously they're a type of deer, are they as much of a problem as the sort of normal red deer that we know about? So what's your view on them?
Well, red deer are, and the numbers are extremely high in some places. In the Cairngorms, they're generally much better managed, but in other places where there just isn't that integration, or the objectives are yet to be aligned with protected areas, and the numbers in those places need to come down. But recognising that there are different objectives, there are different landowners who want to do different things with land. So in recognising and respecting those objectives, but generally deer numbers need to come down, and they need to come down a lot in order for trees and woodland to recover.
But that's deer in general. You don't see, it's just because it's Christmas, I just have reindeer on the mind. you don't see many reindeer here, or any reindeer here?
No, you see them up in the Cairngorms.
Right, they're not here.
Yeah.
Another picture stop. I see some lichen with some snow on it. I should turn them into Christmas cards. I won't, but that's what I should do.
Yeah.
So if there was a sort of a final thought you wanted people to take away from about this forest, or about the Caledonian pines you're trying to protect and grow here, what might that be?
Well, for this woodland, and as I say, it's only 36 acres in size. It's a fairly small woodland, but it's not to to discount that. And we talk about the hundreds of ants' nests, the crossbills, the crested tits, the squirrels. It's woodlands like this can punch way above their weights, but also woodlands like this connected together provide a much larger, integrated, robust habitat.
Yeah.
And it's just thinking along these lines that this woodland, although it has the A9 on one side, it's got roads on two other sides, it's got a forest adventure park there to the other side. It feels like a woodland that could be squeezed, but it can also feel like a woodland that is part of this much larger landscape and contributing to that. And I suppose in part it depends on how you view that.
Yeah.
But the woodland is connected to its woodlands roundabout.
Yeah.
So it's definitely playing its part in part of that recovery of the old Caledonian pine forest of Scotland, as small as it is.
Well, it's been a real treat for you to guide us through it on such a special snowy Christmassy day, so thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
Well, it's been a fantastic day, which leaves me just to say, from the land of reindeer and Caledonian pine, can I wish you a very happy, peaceful and joyous Christmas and New Year, and I do hope that wherever you are able to share the joy of this season, and that you'll join us in the new year for lots more podcasts and tree adventures. Until then, from all of us in the Woodland Trust podcast team, to all of you, can we wish you a happy Christmas and a great new year, and of course, happy wanderings.
Thank you for listening to the Woodland Trust Woodland Walks. Join us next month when Adam will be taking another walk in the company of Woodland Trust staff, partners and volunteers. And don't forget to subscribe to the series on iTunes or wherever you are listening. And do give us a review and a rating. If you want to find out more about our woods and those that are close to you, check out the Woodland Trust website. Just head to the Visiting Woods pages. Thank you.